Hey guys, Gregory here. Today we're going to be learning how to restring a nylon slash a classical guitar. So besides the nylon guitar, what you're going to need are a pack of strings. Make sure they're nylon strings. You definitely don't want to put steel strings on a classical guitar. And what would help too is some kind of a wire cutter, maybe from a pliers or one like this. This is actually like a 3-in-1 tool that I have. Any of those would work. So let's go. So the first thing we want to do is we want to remove the strings from the guitar. So to make this easy, I like to place the guitar facing left in between the insides of my feet. So I close my feet in just enough so that it can just rest comfortably there without touching the floor, of course, because we don't want to scratch up the guitar. And by it facing left, this allows me to detune all of these strings by tuning them all in one direction, which would be away from me or in a clockwise direction. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to just show you how to destring one string, and then I'll cut to the next section because the process to detune and remove all of the strings are going to be the same. Now I'm going to start with the low E string. Now I said turn the knob in a clockwise direction, but that depends on the fact that your guitar was actually strung in the right way. If it wasn't, then turning it in the clockwise direction may actually tune it up. So it should be in a clockwise direction, but just to double check, what you can do is to play the string you're about to detune. In my case, it's the 6th string, the E string, and then give it a quick turn, and it should go down. The sound of the string should go down, and once it did, then you know you're turning it the right way. So let's continue. Here we go, detuning the 6th string. So turning it away from me. I just need to keep doing that. We just want to turn it enough so that the string becomes slack enough so that I could just easily remove the string from the post, meaning up here by the tuner manually. Once it is slack enough, it's really not too hard to manipulate. I can literally just grab the string and push it through. And then the string is now off, at least from this end. We just need to deal with this part down here now. So this part here may not need much of an explanation. One look at it, and I'm pretty sure you'll know what to do. In my case, it's just to kind of bring the hoop, the string back through the hoop, and pull it through, and then pull it through again, and then that string is off. So I've gone ahead and I've removed all of the strings off of the guitar. This is a really great opportunity to really clean your guitar thoroughly. Take a damp piece of cloth and just wipe down the fingerboard, clean the body of the guitar. Try to get the cloth in places that are usually a bit difficult to get to when the strings are on. Okay? Now, in addition to that, there's something else that might happen when taking the strings off the guitar, and that is the saddle might fall out. Now don't get alarmed because this is a very common thing. It is meant to be removed. Some saddles are fitted a bit tighter than others, but on my guitar the saddle just falls right out. So what you want to do is when restringing the guitar, just remember to put it back in. And if we take a look at the saddle very closely, there's a side of the saddle that is usually a bit higher. It might be a little hard to see in the video, but there's a side of the saddle which is usually a bit higher. You want the higher side of the saddle to be on the side where the lower strings may be. In other words, the 6th string tends to fall on the higher side. And then if the nut falls out, it's very easy to put back in. You just need to get some all-purpose glue, put a little bit below your nut, stick it back in and hold it down for a couple of minutes, and you'll be good to go. So I've already gone ahead and opened my pack of strings. What you want to do at this point is try to identify which string is which. There should be some sort of labeling on the strings. If there is not, then the strings do vary in terms of thickness. They're very subtle, but you can take a good look and identify which string is thicker than the next. The thickest string is the 6th, going down to the 1st. They go from thick to thin. In this part of the video, I'm just going to tie on the 6th string alone because it's going to be the same process for each of the other 5 strings. So I'm going to grab one end of my 6th string. I'm going to grab it a little close to the end so that makes it easier for me to push it through the hole. And I am going to push it through that 6th string hole. That should be the hole that's closest to you if you were holding the guitar upright. And then what you want to do is you want to pull maybe 2 to 3 inches of string through on the next side, because we're going to have to use this to make a loop. So we're going to take that tail piece now and we're going to create a loop like so. We want to make the loop itself kind of small because we want more tail than loop. And as we make the loop, we just kind of clamp the point where it intersects with our fingers, so that makes it easy to contain. And then we're going to take the tail piece and push it through the hole like so. And of course, every time we reach a new step, we could use our fingers to maintain the tension as much as we can, like you see me doing in the video. And once we have that first loop in, we can pull it through quite a bit. And then we're going to take that same tail piece and we're going to make another loop through the hole, just like this. And once that is through, we're going to pull on each end to give it a little bit of a tightening. And that should more or less be securely on. Okay, so continuing with the 6th string, what we want to do is we want to take that string and we want to push it through the correct post, which in this case would be the 6th one. This is the 6th string, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. So we're going with this one, the 6th string. It would be a good idea to turn the post so that it faces outward like that. So it makes it easy for the string to just go through. I'm going to push it through. And then with my other hand, I'm going to pull it all the way through so that the string gets a bit tense like this. Okay? The next thing I want to do is I want to make sure that the string is in line to that 6th string groove. It's a bit hard to see on the video, I think, but there's a groove here for the 6th string. Make sure it's in there. And then to tune the guitar, we want to make sure that we get a couple winds around the post, right? So to create winds around the post when tuning, we just want to grab the string right around where the nut is, and we're going to pull it down about 2 frets to the 2nd metallic fret here. And then we're going to just crease the other side of the post where this finger is. I'm just going to push in the string and create a bit of a crease. That will help it to not slip back through as easily when I'm tuning. And then once I have in my right hand here, once I have pulled the string down, I want to keep this part of the string tense, right? Once this part of the string is tense, it behaves a lot better when turning the post so that it actually winds around. If the string is too wobbly, it tends to not behave the way you want it to, and it becomes very hard for the string to actually wind properly around the post. So instead of holding tension here now, I'm going to hold it a bit closer because it'll behave even better if I hold it closer to the post. So in my right hand, I'm holding tension here instead. And now that here, this little piece here is very tense, it's going to behave just the way I want. I'm going to start to turn it. And what I'm doing, I'm turning the post away from me. I believe that would be clockwise from this direction. And I'm going to just watch the string as it goes around. Now, the string can wrap around on either the left side of the post, of the hole, or the right side. I like for the string to go on the right side because there's a little bit more room there. It really doesn't matter a lot, but I just prefer it to be on the right side. So as it wraps around, I tend to guide the string a little bit. And once it does end up on the right side of the hole like that, it tends to just continue that way. And then I'm just going to keep turning it. Right, remember to keep the tension here. You don't want to let go of that tension. Otherwise, everything becomes difficult. And you're going to keep turning, 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 turning. And you want to turn until this part of the string here becomes tense. So I'm going to keep doing that. Just enough so that it straightens out really. It doesn't have to be in tune at this point. We just want it to straighten out. You could kind of see it straightening out there. And once it is somewhat straight, that's somewhat tense, make sure it's still in the 6th string groove, right? Then it's pretty much strung. And a good thing to do would be to continue with the other strings and then retune the guitar at the end of everything. So that's it. The 6th string is now properly strung onto the guitar. So I've gone ahead and I've strung on the 5th and the 4th string as well. The process is the same for all 6. but I decided that I will do one of the last three, meaning the thinner strings, and there's a particular reason for this. So I'm going to start the same way, pulling the string up, making sure the post is facing out, and then I'm going to push the string through, right? This is the fourth string, so it should be in this post here, and then making sure that the string is on the groove for the fourth string, which is this one, okay? I'm going to pull it all the way through, and then I'm going to grab it by the nuts and pull it down about 2 frets, just like before. I'm going to add a crease to the back here. I'm just going to add a little crease, right, just to help it to turn out better. And then I'm going to try to keep the tension a bit closer, right? So I'm going to put my finger right about here, on my right hand, so there's some tension between the post and my finger now. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I want to start turning away from me, okay? But for this one, I want to be a bit more careful. I really want to kind of guide the string. And every time I get a wind, right? So the winds are coming more on the inside now, which is what I want. I want to just keep pushing it towards the hole so that it jams the string that comes through the hole. And the reason that I do that is that I find sometimes, not all the time, the string tends to slip back through, and it prevents the string from tuning at all. So every time I make a wind, I just kind of push the strings to jam the string. Push the strings to jam the string, yeah, I guess. That's what I mean. So that the winds are nice and tight, and that really kind of prevents the string from wanting to slip back through. It's the same process, but it does two things. It does prevent slipping, and it also helps to create a very neat looking tuning post. Okay, so the string is more or less on, so I can let go the tension on both hands. And as I'm tuning now, I'm more focusing on, keeping the winds nice and neat and tight. And that should get you a very stable fourth string, and the same thing for the third and the second. These three strings in particular, I find they can slip back out. Not all the time, but it can happen. So just as a safety measure, I do exactly as I just said. So if you were able to follow along with those steps for each of these strings, you should now have yourselves a freshly tuned guitar. One of the last things you want to do, of course, is to tune it. And if you're not sure how to tune the guitar, you can check out my lesson on tuning the guitar. It's a fairly simple process. And one thing to keep in mind is that fresh strings, new strings, go out of tune really fast, so that you'll find yourself tuning the guitar quite often for the first couple of days. But the more you tune it, the more stable it becomes. Right, so the last thing you want to do is you want to cut off the excess string. So I have here my wire cutter, and we're just literally going to look for the excess and snip it off on both ends. So I'm just going to do one on each side. I think you can figure out the rest on your own. So I'm going to do the 6th string. I'm just going to grab the 6th string here, and I'm going to cut it pretty close to the knot and give it a little snip. Right, that's one. And then on the other side, what I tend to do is if the wire is kind of hidden behind all the coils, I might just tune it or detune it so that the post becomes easily accessible. And then, like this. And once that side is hanging out, it becomes a little easier to grab onto. And I get my wire cutter in there, snip, and that's it. Do that for all strings and you're good to go. Okay, so that was the lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, as always, please like, share, and subscribe. It will help me out a ton. But until next time, later.